Okay, cool. Let's get started. Okay, so welcome to the this podcast show hosted by TBA, the Bullish Agency, where basically my company help financial coaches to grow and scale, strategize their business in marketing and sales to go from 6 figures a year, 7 figures a year to multiplying that number. All right. So today in this show, I've here with me my Sean, my team member, who's also one of the main copywriter in my team. And today we'll be discussing this very interesting question. All right, which is why do some people see financial education ads and call them a scam? So just for some context, right? So recently, in fact, I think the past 1 year, 1 or 2 years, right? Recently, there has been a lot of videos, YouTube videos, especially where people talk about ads and and complain that they are scammy, that they are making big claims, and people are out there are just trying to make money from selling courses, right? So this today, this is exactly what we're going to talk about. And if you are a financial education coach, right, and this is something that you say come to mind when managing your business and trying to grow your business, stay in this video, watch this video all the way at the end. Pretty sure we have lots of things to share with you. And of course, if you do have some questions, do drop them down in the Facebook comment. If you're watching on YouTube, you can drop it in the comment section, and then we'll answer them. All right. Okay, so let's get started. So, just want to paint a bit of context again for this show, right? So, I mean, Sean, you and I, we help some of our clients, financial coaches, to go write some copies, write some video scripts, and of course, we also see some of our competitors, right? So, I mean, in the financial education alone, the industry alone, especially in Singapore and in Malaysia, right, there has been a lot of um, I would say not so nice reputation, right? So some people call it a scam, some people call it cheating money, some people share just like the video. Some people call it a scam, some people call it some people don't understand why if you are making money, why would you teach it? Why would you want to teach? Why can't you just like lead your own life and make money, right? So Sean, so why do you think that happens? Why do you think some people see all these ads, or some people just see that you're selling courses and they're just like call you outright a scam? Why do you think that happens?
Wow. I think what we've actually touched on and what we are actually discussing today. It's I think one of the major obstacles that I think many people face when it comes to wanting to grow their income, wanting to become a more financially savvy person. Because I think it's there's really a lot that goes into this question. There's what I would call the first answer, which is the answer that has to do with investing and trading, the very substance of what we do. And there's also the second thing about the marketing reason. And I think the third thing that I'll also be answering it from is also the angle of just how people have changed in general. So I think all of these things are interrelated. I think I'll just address them one by one. So yeah, I think to whoever is watching out there, I think just to give some context to it. So I think as the person who writes the copy for many of these ads, I am quite aware of what these things is. Because when we look at the ads, we look at the campaigns we run, we see the comments, and some of them are brutal, I would say. And I think in a way it is also something that we think about, because these clients that we work with, we won't be mentioning names here for confidentiality purposes. It's that we are aware that their reputation is on the line as well. And yet, in spite of all these things, they have proceeded to go into this field for many reasons. And income is definitely not one of the biggest reasons that's driving them. So I think just to share a bit, I think let's just let's just lay it out there that I think we believe that there are some who might not have the best intentions when they enter the space. Because I don't think that like any form of business, like any form of enterprise that will there will be some black sheep who will taint the entire industry. So I think we work with quite a number of people. We do know most of them, but I think we can't really say that all of them have great intention. There may be always be some who are not the best people to work with. So what we try to do is we really try to veer away from these people. And when we work with them, we really work with those who are honest, who are ethical, who are really making and desiring to change their own, to really educate people and train them up in these skills of investing, trading in whatever asset classes it may be. So I think that's just to share where we come from. And yes, I think to answer the question of why people feel that way, I think it's three answers. I would say it's the first thing is the marketing aspect. There's also the trading aspect, and the last is just people themselves are different. So I think I'll just go into that. And hey, Ben, just let me know if anytime I just veer off and you need to pull me back, try just let me know. So I
Okay, sure,
think
sure.
that the first one, it's what I would I'll start with the concept, or I'll start with it from the marketing aspect first, and then later I'll go into the investing and trading aspect. And I think we'll see why these two things can be linked. And the reasoning is slightly different, but I think for our agency, what makes us different is that the people or on our team are both marketers, and we are also people who know about business, but yet we are aware of how the markets function. So I'll explain and go into a little about the whole philosophy behind beating the market in the second part. So I'll start with the first thing, which is the marketing aspect. And I think what I would like to do is, I think Ted will be very familiar with this. It's one of the favorite things that I always refer to. And it's actually from this book called Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz. It's one of the classic texts that I always read, and I've read
Like a
actually
Bible.
it's my third or fourth time. Sorry?
I was say you read it like a Bible.
No. That's second to the Bible, but pretty close up there in terms of the relevance that it has for me. So
Okay.
I think the key idea, it's always about this level of the 5 levels of market sophistication. And I think a lot of people actually hear this term, and the issue that I have with many people is that they hear this term, but they actually heard someone else say it, and that person also heard someone else say it, who heard someone else say it. So many people know of this term, but they don't actually understand the original way that Eugene Schwartz actually discussed this topic. And I think when we see the lens of any industry, especially the financial education industry, within this lens, I think we come to a very clear insight about what exactly is happening and how can we make sense of the modern world we're in today with some of the classic insights that can come from nearly half a century ago. So I think I'll just roughly go through this and go through these, my interpretation of these 5 levels. So the 5 levels of sophistication basically ask one question, which is, how many of these products has your customer actually seen before? And the thing is that how some marketers like to see it is that, maybe you just need to differentiate, you just need to stand out, you need for the copywriters, for the marketers, you say your big idea, your unique mechanism. And yes, there's a place for that. But at the same time, one of the other aspects of the levels of market sophistication is actually about the level of skepticism that a market has also. Because if you think about it, out of all the products that a market or an audience's customers are being faced with, out of all those products, not every product is going to be perfect, not every product is going to be high quality. There will be some inferior products that are thrown into that mix, and the experience of these inferior products does add to the whole dimension of market sophistication as well. And I think that's that's the challenge that really we're being faced with in today, which is that this is not a copywriting lesson, so I won't go into the 5 levels and just explain it all. I think what I want to just simply condense it to is that where we are today in terms of the level of market sophistication is that we are facing an audience who is extremely jaded with the products and with just claims and promises of all that. And we see in a few ways, because I think the first group is when you hear of people who have tried some product before and they do not do well with it. And I think that's a very, very common case. And especially in the financial education field, when people don't do well with the product, it can be really quite ugly. Like especially for some who are larger investors, it could be quite a big sum that they have maybe 5 figures, 6 figures, hopefully not seven, and they do face a certain degree of loss with it. And yes, it does. I think that it's not just a financial loss, but there is some emotional hurt, there's some shame that comes to it. So generally, all of these emotions are directed somewhere, and it so happens that they are directed to the people who are in this industry. So I think that's the first thing, that people may have tried other products before and then they fail, and then that anger goes somewhere. So I think that's the first. That's really the first. I think that the most pressing and the most obvious reason. Now the second thing, actually, it's I'm not going to name any names here. I'm just trying to keep this as as directed towards the craft rather than directed to agencies or people in general. It's that I'll just refer a bit to. I know I say I won't go into copywriting details, so I'll just dive into it slightly here. It's what we call the shift from the first to the second level of sophistication. So the first the first level, you can imagine it in a place where like there's no competition, things are easy. You can just say something like maybe like how to make 8% a year with investing in stocks. And people will generally accept that. You'll be like, okay, fine, that seems somewhat reasonable, a bit high, but I'm still willing to try it out. And that seems fine. But the thing is that as more competitors enter, they start to want to outbid each other and grab more market share. And so in that process, they start to claim that they can do more. So maybe at the start, they claim, hey, I can make 8%. And that's what competitor A says. But later on, it can be what competitor B says, which is that I can help you make 15% or more. And then afterwards, it may seem, okay, 15%, still fine. But then when competitor C comes along and he wants to claim a bigger market share or to make his name known in the industry, then what happens is he may say, hey, I can make 30% or more. And so because of that, the returns that are promised to people just get higher and higher and higher, to the point that sometimes it seems really, really crazy. Like there are some ads that go like, oh, you can make, okay, so you can make like, I don't know, some will go as far to say you can make like a few 100% a year, things like that. Now the thing is that this happens in the past, and that's how their claims are getting pushed to the extremity that many of them face. So that is where a lot of people become very skeptical. That's where a lot of people become very jaded and they start hating on ads. So that's the first dimension. But yet what we observe is that from our experience, both in marketing and both in the financial markets, these returns are actually becoming possible. And we know that because as we work very closely with some of our clients, some of them do hit these numbers. Like you can have these high returns. Now the issue with that that's faced is that because of previous ads that promised a lot, now as we enter this space with these promises of high returns, of course these high returns are subject to getting the right expertise, are subject to actually knowing what you're doing in the markets, which I think sadly most people don't. And so because of this whole disjunct between the people in the past who used to claim a lot when it wasn't possible, as compared to now where these returns are possible if you know the right thing, there is that that sentiment of the market that some people are just claiming things to be too good to be true, when actually there is some truth to whatever that's being shared. So I think this is really how the whole idea has been, the whole market has really been developing, in the sense that there are some things that are possible, but they have been perhaps scarred by those that come before. So I think that's really the first way that we can look at it. Yeah.
I want to share a story. So I think it was 20, this year is 2021, right? So I think 2019, 2018, when I first still in the middle of like trying to find out exactly the best way of investing and how to get started. So I was a person scrolling on Facebook or Instagram, and I came across an ad, right? And I remember the ad was like a Facebook lead form, or using the Eventbrite, this kind of software, to actually get people to register for a live event previously. A live event was a physical event. So I was scrolling on Facebook and I saw this ad. Right? This ad basically showed, and I can't remember exactly what claims it was. I think it was showing up 15-20%, pretty standard. How to find stocks to invest, where to find, how to enter, how to exit. And then I realized, for some reason, I just didn't seem to believe it. Right? I didn't know why. I mean, at the point time, I didn't really take much notice why I didn't exactly believe the ad, because it's like it just kept popping up everywhere. Right? So until the extent that I was questioning whether this was real, because like especially the ad, right, was using like a stock footage or stock photo, and I didn't know if that person who claims he's going to teach me in that live preview, is it real? Is it fake? Is it just like a place to sell courses? So I didn't know. So obviously, I didn't attend. But on the other hand, right, of course, there were other ads that kind of captivated my attention, caught my attention, and of course, I went to multiple previews, so on and so forth. So So what I realized, on one hand, some ads make me question whether are they real, are they fake, and on the other hand, some ads just make me feel excited. Some ads make me feel um, interested to know more, right? So what I realized is what is the difference is, I think the level of claims. I think what you said just now also. That's number one. Number two is also the believability of the kind of content that you put out in your ads, right? So I don't want to ask you, right? So right now, when you see all these ads, 2021, all webinars, because okay, the issue right now in 2021 or 2020 is that it's so easy to host or start a school selling financial education courses. You just need a Zoom room and maybe a landing page and maybe a bit of money to run some ads, and that's it, right? So, and as a result, the competition has increased. It's so easy to start and sell a course. You just Google how to sell a webinar, probably get some scripts and whatnot, and there you go, right? So what you see is the I would say the red flags right now in this current market, right? As maybe this month is June, sorry. So from this year, especially, or maybe since start of COVID, what are some of the red flags they've seen? Maybe some ads are glaringly bad. Some ads are pretty interesting. I want to find out more. So what are some of your observations?
Okay, so I think as we address the whole before we address the issue of the marketing, I think it's also good for us to look at where the market has been. So okay, just to comment, I'm not a financial coach. I'm a copywriter. It's just that in the process of copywriting, I have found out and learned a fair bit about the markets.
But you started as a trader, right?
Yeah, so actually, yeah, you're right. So, so I started out as a trader and as an investing and got exposed to it. And then actually I picked up copywriting after that. So, but in that process, both of these skill sets do come together. And as a copywriter, I have been researching more into certain fields, like the field of cryptocurrency for one. I think as after I picked up, so I was, okay, so fair, that's fair. Like I did start out in learning a bit about it first out of interest. But as I picked up copywriting, somehow both of these fields aligned together. So that was really where I come from. And after I became a copywriter, there was more research that I did also. And yeah, all of that has really helped me to understand the sentiments and how people are feeling now. So, okay, so this is where I go into a bit of the financial stuff. So I think as you look at the markets as a whole, the last major crash happened in 2008, and that was where the subprime crisis actually happened. So that was the first major crash. And since then, the market has been since that crash in 2008, 2009, the market has been on a relatively strong bull run for this period. And so now and then you do have your minor corrections, but it's only in 2020. And in fact, it was February to March 2020 where this major crash really happened. And I think that for once, for many people who entered the markets from the period after 2009 to 2020, first experienced a crash. And yeah, it was really, the markets were red every day, prices were dropping. You even had the regulator stepping in to say that, hey, we have the limit down, limit up days. And it was a really, really crazy time. And in the midst of this very insane period that we're seeing in terms of the markets just falling, we also saw an extremely huge interest in the field of stocks, in the field of the financial markets, because prices were dropping so much then. And so as a result of this whole effect, you are seeing that the markets drop, more people are interested in investing. And in fact, during that period, even the brokerage firms were quite overwhelmed in terms of the number of people signing up for new accounts, that the whole period was really taking some time. And it's in the midst and in the context of this space that I think, I don't have the data, but more people are emerging to learn more about these markets, and some are attempting to capitalize on this increased demand. Now that in alone, it's not a bad thing. I mean, if the demand is there, then as business owners, as coaches, it's great to capitalize on that. Now the issue comes when some of these people may not have the necessary expertise, but they should try and teach, and I think that is where we see the dangers. So I think that's the first thing that we're looking at, which is the first, I wouldn't say it's not really a red flag yet, but we are in an environment where, especially in this period, if you're watching this video months and years from now, it may not be fully applicable. But the thing is that the market sentiment drives the market demand for these courses, and yeah, sometimes when the demand is there, you attract the good, and you also attract the not so good. So I think that's how I would generally see the market. And I think one of the things that also come to mind about the red flags of these things is really I think it's really when it comes down to it, it's as people, as coaches, how much emphasis do they put on their students and on their support? Because I think that while great marketing, no matter how
Luffy no, Luffy is my friend.
Okay, I see.
Is it MES wants to know your location?
That is a very dangerous comment. Oh dear.
Luffy enough.
Okay. Wow. All right, where was I? All right, so about the red flags. Yeah, so when we come to the red flags, I lost my train of thought. Okay, so I think when it comes to it, okay, never mind, let's just jump into it. Okay, so for the MES side of things and the regulatory side of things, yes, that is also an aspect that we deal with. And I think one of the things that we actually do look into these regulations. We do look into what can be done, what cannot be done, and we have shared a little with our clients on where the lines are drawn. So I think that the one thing that we really stand very firmly on, and the one thing that we are clear on, is that whatever we provide is information, not advice. Because once it falls under advice, that we compel someone to act there, I think that is where things are not allowed. But I think that when we present it, it's always about financial education. We're not a financial advisory, because I think that is really where we see a difference. And I think that's a concern that many have, and rightly so, because the financial field does come with all these things. And I think it's not just the financial field. There are other fields that are subject to this level of regulations as well. The health field is another. The supplement field, the field of supplements, like let's say the diabetes, but I'm not okay. I don't know much about supplements. I only know financial education. I know, like say.
Yeah, I mean, even in Malaysia, right? Some of our clients, I mean, Singapore is it's called the MES, right? The Money Authority of Singapore. Then in Malaysia, there's this thing called SC, right? So in Malaysia, SC is the one very tight on all these financial education companies, and a lot of them are clamping down on a lot. So anyway, back to just now what you mentioned, right, which is the financial education industry. It's very, I would say, volatile. I don't know if that's the right word, cyclical, if you will. Example, if the market is crashing, then your campaigns will do very well. But then if, let's say, like right now, everyone's kind of arrogant and they think they know how to invest, it's like you just buy one stock and then the stock goes up by 20%. If that's everyone, then there's no reason for them to learn, right? And as a result, the demand kind of drops as well because of arrogance. And it's so easy to learn, right? So anyway, so back to the topic of why we are here, right? So first one, on the address, right, which is, some people again says that there's this school of thought. They say, if there's haters, right, there's haters, what you got to do is just to put them aside, right? Because that's not a target audience, right? So do you think this matter? Like, the subject of hate in this industry? Do you think it matters? Because on one school of thought, people say, okay, this doesn't matter, right? You just do your thing. So long you feel guilt-free, so long you feel that what you're doing is ethical, so long you provide value, so long you provide real results, you're good. On the other hand, as a marketing aspect, right, which is, are you advertising in a way that that is likable, that is getting customers to pay you after feeling happy, after feeling like some form of connection with you. So there's like two different schools of thought. So I've never asked you this question before, but then what do you think?
Wow. So I think it's always a spectrum. I think in fields like marketing, I think between us, we know that we do manage quite a bit in advertising. We do spend a fair bit. I'm not going to review how much, confidential, but I think in that process we have come to grips with certain more challenging aspects of our craft and of our field of work. And I think one of them is that one of the principles that I believe in is that it's very rarely a black or white thing. It's really as the more advanced as you become, the more great things are, the more great things you can get. And this is something I learned from your mentor also. It's in one of the coaching calls.
Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah, so I think what is true is that definitely there are some haters who are really just out to destroy people. They're really out to just pull others down and just whack. I know some who go to huge extremes of like even signing out with a fake email and then sending hate and then saying dumb. I think that's just far too extreme, and there's really no need for financial coaches to be affected by toxic people like that. On the other hand, I think it is also relevant for us to just take note of what these people are saying. So okay, this sounds like a very politically correct answer, but I think the short answer is that we should be aware, but we should not let it stop what we're doing. So I think that is really the approach that I think is healthy when it comes to hate. And I think that's the first thing. And I think I'd like to extend a bit further as well. So, and I'd like to just draw back a little to the whole point of marketing, because I think just because it is easy to start a financial education business does not mean it's easy to sustain a financial education business. And I think that is really what we aim to do with our clients, because I think as Stat has shared, when everyone's at home, when everyone is on Zoom, and everyone is when the webinar software is so easily available, it is very easy to start and enter this field and maybe get a few sales, things like that. I don't think that is I think that's possible. But if you really want to sustain it and really grow something worthwhile and really build a community and make impact, then sustaining a business is a whole different game altogether. Because if, like, let's say a financial coach really can't get results, his method is just, I don't know, copying someone else's, eventually at some point that shows. And once that shows, the feedback, the bad reviews, all that will come. And in this market, things spread very, very quickly. So in one way or another, it is the sustainability of a business does come down to its ability to deliver their students' results. And I think for these reasons, we're very, very glad to be able to work with some coaches who really, really treasure their community, who really ensure that they get these results. And this is also the reason why we are proud and we are happy to market for them, because we know that out of the course providers out there, these people do know what they're doing. They do know what they're doing, and they really do care for their students. So I think on the topic of hate, that is really we should be aware. But whether or not we let the hate stop our actions is a whole new inquiry altogether. So yeah, that's my answer.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I go on YouTube and I search all these ad reviews, and then I see why people are angry. And should I share screen? Maybe not. So the common thing which I realized, and I again, it's out of curiosity. It's not that I am for or against these comments. But what I observe is that people say they use big claims, like you oversimplify it. Some people say you like for marketing, like you run records, right? It's always about big promise and then without the big pain, etc., etc. So make it seem easy and easy for people to buy and all that kind of things. So Yeah, so this one, people are oversimplifying things. That's number one, making big claims. That's number two. And I think number three is also there is this big concern or big question in people's minds, right? If you can make money, if you yourself you can make money through investment, then why are you teaching? So I think these are the three things. I think I don't know what are your thoughts like. Could advertising answer all these questions and allow people to learn in a way that they don't have all these objections, or is this something that is nature of the industry? What do you think?
I love those questions because the answer to them will actually move the industry forward as a whole. Actually, before I continue, I think that there are some questions in the
Yeah.
I think there's some questions in the chat.
All right, Luffy, let me
Yeah, I see many familiar names in the chat here. So I guess we have I think we have found a certain group who are involved in this field. So
all marketers all marketers, wrong target audience. Okay, so on the raise Brian say you're not marketing high enough. Yeah. Okay, so so question from Luffy, right? How would you guys respond if your Facebook or YouTube ads get parodied by bloggers and YouTubers? Seems like a trend nowadays that once a YouTube ad hits a certain amount of impressions, the haters will come after them. Haha. Yeah, what are your thoughts? To be honest, I don't really know. I haven't really thought about it. I think have someone who actually addressed it. But what are your thoughts? What do you think?
I think first it's that okay, I think this is true. I think I'll layer my answers in a few. I'll layer my answers. I'll layer my answer. So I think on the first level, okay, I'm going to answer it with a principle from David Ogilvy back in his book. I think it was Confessions of an Advertising Man. So I think you can tell I have a certain preference towards some things that they did back a long time ago. So I'm just going to share what David Ogilvy explained the purpose of an ad to be, which is that the purpose of an ad is not to draw attention to itself, but it's to draw attention to the product, it's to draw attention to the idea that's being sold. So if an ad at a single point has reached a stage where people are noticing the ad for it being an ad instead of the product that it promises, then I would say the ad itself is not one that's crafted well. And perhaps for that reason, we do see, I'm not going to name anything, to respect the people who are in this field as well, certain ads that maybe have drawn unwanted or unnecessary attention to themselves. So perhaps one of the things is that maybe when the form of an ad becomes too prominent, then the ad may not be a good ad as well. So I think that's the first thing. Of course, this whether an ad is good or not is determined by a number of sales it makes and the data that of whether it performs well or not. But I think one of the telltale signs is that when people actually start noticing the ad for being an ad, then it means that the person who's writing the ad has approached this market with the wrong level of sophistication. So I think on the first level, it's that this problem should not be happening in the first place if the marketer or the copywriter is skilled enough to discern when the market is at. So that's the first answer. Now on the second answer, it's on the second layer, which is that if this situation still happens, I would think that any form of publicity is there, and it's still there is some. It is publicity at least puts you out there, but I would say that if it does happen, then I think that the goal is really to respond with these people in the right way and strike up a healthy conversation with them. So I think I'm going to name an example from the US. So I know in the US there's this guy, I think it's CoffeeZilla, who really just goes out and really says people who are scams and all that. I think one of the people that he picked up on was Stephen Georgi, who is a very, very well-known copywriter in the US. So I think how Stephen handled, I don't know any person, but how he managed it, I think, was really impressive. That he really reached out and he struck a conversation with CoffeeZilla. And I think, I can't confirm it, I think they had some kind of some kind of a podcast interview where they spoke with each other openly.
Healthy debate, right?
Yes, it was a healthy debate about the issue. And I felt that was really, really such a brilliant PR move that I think rescued the brand and kept it respectful for both sides. And at the same time, opened up the awareness of the fields to a more balanced perspective. So I would say that if things do reach out to this stage, I think ideally it doesn't, because the purpose of an ad is really to draw attention to its products. But if this ad does draw attention to some necessarily unwanted attention, then perhaps that can be turned into a way to encourage discourse and to shed some light about the industry as a whole. So I would say that it will require a bit of tactfulness, a bit of publicity, a bit of work from the coach themselves. But I think any situation, if it comes from the right heart to serve, if it comes from the right heart to really take care of the customers and really teach the right things, I would say that it is possible to deliver and to really be able to turn this into a situation for good. But on the other hand, if a product really has not delivered and the truth is being told about that, that is what it is. If the product is bad and the truth is told, there is no rescuing from that. That's what I believe.
Yeah, I think because I just came in from a mastermind 1-2 days ago, and there's a few questions that this committee provided, which is a few actually. So one of which is, are you guilt-free? That means are your intentions pure, right? When you want to run this business, when you're putting out these ads, these claims, are you guilt-free, right? If yes, then good. Then you shouldn't have to worry. Second one is, is this person in your target audience, your target market? If not, then don't bother, right? Because I mean, this person has no business commenting about your stuff. However, if this person falls into your target audience, then it's probably something you gotta listen to. That's number 2. Then number 3, I think Luffy has a comment later. I'll address it. I think number 3 is can't remember exactly. Later I'll go and find see if I can remember. But I think my point of view is, I mean, yes, like there is a nice way to do it and a little bit of a dangerous way to do it as well. I think I'll prefer the dangerous way. Later I'll explain why. But I think the safe way or the nice way is to really confront the person, have a nice talk out of it, etc. 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 I think that part solves the thing. So long you know you're guilt free, you have the right intentions, right? I think that the part. I think on the other hand, I'm more of a person who like to take big swings at things like that, but it's not me. Hopefully, if it's me, I'll probably take one step back. But if I'm the marketer or someone else, I will probably try something interesting. Maybe pull a PR stunt or something PR, which I would rather use this as an opportunity to get myself in front of eyeballs. I mean, not me, or my client, but I think that's what I would do. So, Luffy, I hope I gave you a answer which you're looking for. So Luffy says, Coffee became a guest on Stefan's RTV show. Recently, Stefan talked with Jim Clare. So he's a copywriter who was a guest on Coffee Show. Yeah. Talk about the industry. Yeah. Then Brian Ang also say, if you're not marketing, if you don't have haters, you're not marketing hard enough. Yeah, I kind of agree. Especially YouTube. YouTube definitely have. Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, man. So I think dealing with hate generally is part and parcel. Especially, I mean, Singapore is such a small country. If you just run a few ads, a few K a day, then only a matter of time before you get some hate. Because at the end of the day, there is no. There will not be 100% of people who see your video will like you, right? Definitely, at least a certain group of people will kind of hate you, and I think it's just part and parcel of business and the right approach is just the right mindset to do with it and just get along and accept that that's part of the business. Brian says, where do you think the direct response ads are moving towards in the next few years as compliance becomes more strict plus privacy becomes an issue? I think I can share my thoughts first, and then Sean, you can share your thoughts. So my thoughts regarding the first question, which is where I think direct response ads are moving towards in the next few years as compliance. Okay, so I think regarding privacy and compliance becomes more strict. So actually, this was something which I brought up just now. We actually had a client AR after action review after a campaign, and generally, I mean, yes, right, there is all the iOS updates, and I mean YouTube probably email also getting affected very soon. So I was talking about this because we also kind of affected. I mean, based on comparing our current campaign versus our previous campaign, in terms of our ROAS wise, it kind of dropped a bit. So my thoughts is generally it's still the same basic principles, but at the end of the day, what you really have to, I mean, you got to measure properly, right? I mean, all these things are getting affected, but you got to have the tools to measure and check properly. So even though let's say ad costs are increasing, that's something that we can't really control. Whether is it like it's hard to reach out to other people, it's something we really can't control. So what we really have control over is the strategy, our approach to it, and the one which I thought actually just now was, especially when top of funnel ads, right, are just getting more expensive. There are easier ways to get top of funnel people in and then retarget them later in the customer journey. So the ads they run actually generally have like super cheap clicks, but then it isn't exactly direct response. It's all like very hook driven and clickbaity kind of things. So we use the things to actually get in very, very, very cheap clicks, like what, 30, 40 cents. And then we retarget them later on. Very, very strong proof. UGC, something that we'll be exploring next campaign. And that's basically what we try to do. So in terms of like ads wise, I think that's what we do strict and private. I mean, there are definitely tools and whatnot to do with that. But generally speaking, as ad cost increases, there's something we can't control. We can just control what we do with it. And of course, business-wise, we definitely want to increase the lead value the lead value for the business, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. And hopefully this thing can do that. So to summarize, I think my point, which is stick with the fundamentals. I mean, all these tools definitely can help with your privacy issues and all these different things. But at the end of the day, you just got to find out like the strategy that suits your objective, suits your goal. And to me, my own perspective is that there is the marketing standpoint and there is the tech standpoint. The tech, you gotta do the tech. You have no choice. But marketing stays the same, right? Doesn't really. I mean, marketing is just marketing. Tech is tech. So that's my point of view. Sean, what about you?
Okay, so I think that has addressed the point about privacy. So I think I'll take the issue about compliance. Because I was reading through Brian's statement, I saw the points there.
Some context.
Sorry?
Sean is
No.
No. Sean is a
No, that's fine. Okay, so I think compliance. I'm going to quote.
I will address this. I will bring it up again. Maybe the next few podcasts if Brian and Luffy shows up for the next one. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So on the point of compliance, I think now I'm going to quote John Capo. So I feel like I'm going through all the old school guys, all the Eugene Schwartz, Ogilvy, and John Capo. So I think one of the things that is written in the book, Tested Advertising Methods, it wasn't written, the quote was not said by John Capo. So I remember as I was reading through this page that one of the gentlemen that he quoted said, advertising is good advertising, or I think meant something along the lines of advertising happens when the product is good and the truth is told. And I was really thinking so hard about that statement because it's so simple that advertising is a product is good, you tell the truth about it, you scream it out. The issue today that I think we are facing is that products are bad and the truth is not told. And on this dynamic alone, we can see and explain really a lot many things that maybe a product is good, but truths are not told that they can do wonders. So you have that mismatch of expectations. Or maybe the product is really just not good and people are not happy. There's no way about that. Advertising, I think many of our listeners here seem to be experienced marketers, and I think you guys will know as well that if an offer is not converting, you can send tons of traffic at it and it still won't convert. So I think that's the principle that we apply in general with regards to compliance. I think the fundamental issue that we have to face is that when it comes to a product, we need to be truthful in what we are sharing, and we need to just basically tell the truth. Like, let's say if there are certain softwares that over a period of 5 years have been back tested and do produce, let's say, a certain return, then that is the truth. We market aggressively out of it because we know it can be documented. So I think that is my response to the issue of compliance. That I think that's the answer I would give as a marketer. So now I would take a step back and answer in a different context. I think I don't share it at first. I'll go and keep this context secret. So I think if you take a view from it as the policy, as an issue of policy, as an issue of seeing how the industry grows as a whole, then I would say that regulation is a good thing, because regulation allows the legitimate business. It allows the actual coaches who really have the results to be able to grow in this environment where they know that they are legit and they have this means to back it up. And so I think regulation should not be, and I think in the field of marketing, we see regulation as this force that's like, oh no, bad for you, you cannot say this, you cannot say that. But how I see this, that I think it's a force for good, because it ensures that that firstly, the public, the consumers do get the right things being said. And at the same time, it allows those who are really, really good to stay in the game. So yeah, I think that's how I would say on the issue of compliance. That I think that as compliance gets stricter, and as the seminar industry, or as this whole alternative industry grows, and I believe it should, and as it grows, the need for regulation is going to come in at some point in time. And rather than view it as this enemy that we are to confront or to force away, I would rather see it as a force that we can channel for our good, be it for ourselves as marketers or also for our clients. So that's where I come from. I think two different perspectives, both as a marketer and as something else.
Nice.
Yeah.
Something else. And there's something else we will be reviewed in the next podcast. All right. So be sure to show up. Okay. So next I actually wrote down this question. I didn't really have the intention to answer this, but let's see how you answer this. So now we know, right? Some people have hate against these ads, this industry even. So how do you think we can okay, first one, why do you think people think this way? Right? So why do people think that make big claims? Why do people say that you're in it just to make money? The first question. And then second one, later we'll discuss, how can we actually turn this into an advantage? How can we help our clients, or how can these coaches even turn all these hate and use it as an advantage?
Okay, so I think why people hate it's there's probably two categories. The first is those who have tried a product before, who came from a coach that maybe wasn't the most student focused, and they didn't get results, or even worse, they did, or they use a certain flawed strategy. So okay, so I think for the benefit of okay, this will not be for the marketers. This will be for the more technical side, because I do want to speak out a bit to the financial coaches as well. There are some strategies we thought, like for example, I know that there are some who teach the strategy, some strategies which are not the wisest, which do have bear certain risk as well. And of course, no strategy is perfect, but some coaches do present their strategies like it is the perfect thing, and they don't tell their students about the downsides of these strategies. And of course, sometimes in students, when they are the newer, they see the returns that come, they do a bit reckless things, and they don't watch the risk, and sometimes they do end up losing money. And that whole thing translates into an experience where they are now very jaded towards the market. And so that's the first school of thought. And I think the second is that the people around those who have lost money start to get influenced that, hey, signing up for courses is bad, don't try to beat the money on your own, things like that. So I think that is the second reason why. And okay, I think now I would like to go a bit into really just dive deeper into the financial part of it. So there are two schools of thought, which is the first school of thought is called the efficient market hypothesis, efficient market theory. And that's
yeah. Okay. What is that? And give some context. That after that, I also lost it. You said that 3 words, I lost it. So give the audience some context. What that means. Sounds like something something sounds like something that is out of a economics book or something like that. So please share what that.
Okay, sure. So now this is really more for this is for the financial education people, not the marketers really. So I think when it comes to the stock market as a whole, there are really two schools of thought that revolve around this key question, which is whether or not is it truly possible to beat the market. And from this single question, so many different schools of thought have come out. You have the people on one hand. There's this book called A Random Walk Down Wall Street. I think it's by some guy called Burkle or something. Can't remember his name. His whole idea was that you cannot beat the markets. Anything that happens in the market is completely random. And so because it's completely random, right, there's no point trying to speculate or find which stock is good for you, which stock can grow, because everything happens randomly. Like maybe one day, I don't know, one ship sinks and then the stock market drop, or maybe one day suddenly someone, famous politician might tweet something and the market goes up. So he says that the stock market is a construct of randomness. So that is this thing called the random walk theory. And that is a mindset that if a person subscribes to, they will think that I cannot beat the stock market, it's all random. I will just buy a low-cost index fund and just hold it, which will work for some. So that is a school of thought, then sure. And along this school of thought, there's also something called the efficient market theory, which is that the market is so effective and it prices in everything. So there's really no point trying to spot or really to try and find bargains in the market, because the market will price everything in. And so people who also subscribe to this school of thought will not try to beat the market or anything, because they think that the market is really there. So that's the second school of thought. And so now what I'm going to shift into is to the other school of thought. So these things I've just mentioned are for people who believe that you can't beat the markets. But now on the other hand, you have the group of people who believe that you can beat the markets. And these are the very, very famous investors. You have Peter Lynch, you have Warren Buffett, you have Philip Fisher, and in fact, many of our clients also like in this group as well. And it's a school of thought that believes that when you look at the price of a market, the efficient market theory, that yes, the price is accurate most of the time, but it's not accurate all of the time. And it is in capturing that discrepancy between the price and the intrinsic value of the company that allows an investor to beat the market. So I'm simplifying it. Our clients will know more. You should get them on sometime. I don't know much about this field exactly. But the idea is that if you know the right techniques, you really have a certain skill set, then it is possible for you to beat the markets. And so this is the divide that primarily exists in the financial markets, even before marketers came in to this field, that the topic that we are on itself already has a lot of these contentions in place. And if we have marketers just dive in and we don't tackle them, or we are not aware of them, then of course it does result in some unpleasant hate, because these people do already have these beliefs. So yeah, I think just to really summarize the issue of why is there hate is that sometimes there are beliefs from the field itself, the financial knowledge you have. And of course, they may have tried something before, it didn't work out. Or sometimes the marketer just ran such an ad that's so poor that it just leads people to believe that this is a pro product. That could be a possibility as well.
Nice. So based on your school of thought, the two school of thoughts, right? So some people believe that it's impossible literally to beat the market. You just better off buying a low cost ETF. So then the question comes, right? Should you target these kind of people? So should you spend like all your ad budget to convince these kind of people that hey, what you're believing is wrong, right? People are actually making money from stock market. So what are the thoughts? Should people actually, should clients or should financial education coaches spend budget targeting convincing these people? Or maybe just find another group of people who have lesser effort to convince. What are your thoughts?
Okay, back to the old school guys. I'm quoting Eugene Schwartz this time. It opens in chapter 1 of Breakthrough Advertising. The greatest mistake.
Page shot. You remember?
Page shot. Give you chance lah.
Okay. No, short reads BA like a little Bible. Like everybody got a daily bread. Then after you read. Okay.
No. Yeah. So I think that the main thing is, remember it opens chapter 1, which is almost the start of the book. The greatest mistake the marketers try to make is to create demand. Now, demand is not something that can be created. It is not meant to be done in the field of advertising. There are other ways that I'll address it later. But in the field of advertising, our job is to harness the demand, and our job is to take the existing demand and direct it to the products that we are marketing. Because the thing is, that is really the function of advertising, is that people will want certain things. If they want to learn how to beat the markets, they will find something for it. And all we as marketers are doing is channeling and directing that into our clients' products. That is what I think the role of advertising is. Now, is it possible to tell other people that that it's possible to beat the markets? Yes, and I think that falls into the role of education. And I really want to make that split very clear, because when we see things and we look at it through jumbled up, I think it does become an issue, and we want to be very clear as marketers what we are using, why we are using it, and where it's good to deviate from this. And I think this is where I'll touch a little about this thing called content marketing, which means that the role of content marketing is not to drive the ad or purchase, but it is rather content put out to educate people, and rather to shed some light. And this is the type of thing that runs contrary to direct response, because these things it's quite hard to, in my opinion, I might be wrong, to run a content ad and expect to run content to people and expect it to convert. It will typically take quite some time, and they're really exposed to your content and the school of thought about why it's possible to beat the markets. And then after a certain point, when they are sufficiently convinced through education that that you can then start running ads to them, as they have now become a different part of the market. Okay, so I think one of the things that it's also shared in breakthrough advertising is that the field of this of changing and creating demand is the job of education, the job of policymakers, and the job of authorities to shift and to, like, through public the education system, or through some public campaign thing to change demands of people. And the reason they can do that is that they have huge budget to do so. But we as marketers, we tend to work on a smaller budget, and we don't have the capacity to educate the public based on their budget. That's in the past. But now, with publication being so easily accessible, be it through blogs, YouTube, their premise might have changed, and perhaps it is wise for people to adopt both schools of thought, to know that there is demand. Our job is to harness and direct the demand, but at the same time to also put out education to educate people and potentially grow the market in the years to come. Yeah. So that's
you know what this reminds me of? So you talk about educating, right? Like changing people's beliefs and all different things. So is it 2 weeks ago? Like maybe this last weekend, you talked about this person called Edward Bernays, right? Changing people's. So for those who don't know actually who this person is a nephew of this person called Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud is a philosopher, and basically he does all the psychoanalysis and the hypnosis and propaganda and all these different things. So I mean, I'll leave that convo for another day. I don't know if there's interest in that, but if there is, we'll talk about it. So yeah, so I agree, right? Which is people think this way because of these different reasons. I also think, personally, I think why people think of financial education coaches this way, because it's one thing which keeps popping up in my head, in ads as well, right? In YouTube comments as well. So if you are already making money on your own, you can do it on your own, then why are you teaching it? So I think, to share my thoughts also, I think this is something that has to be really, really, really clear, right? When you do your marketing, because that is the sentiment right now which people have in their head, right? And if that is not addressed, if there is an objection in your head and that is not addressed, even though they might have the desire, right? But if you just seem like you're just trying to start a course just to make some money, then I think that will be an objection which prevents prospects needs to take on the next step. So I think this is a very important objection, or important to address, which is, why, if you can make money, then why are you doing this? And I personally think sometimes it's a bit, especially for those who are, in this market, there is like ethical ones who have in fact, the clients that we all serve, we realize that these people have a very good heart. Sometimes they are not driven by money. In fact, they are going to put all the money back into the business and reinvest to better their product, different things. So I think it's very important that coaches in this industry, right? Because if you basically have the right team and the know-how, I think this business can be rather scalable, right? However, some people are in this business for the right reasons, which means they retire at 28, they don't know what to do for the rest of their life, right? That is full-time the life of a full-time investor. They have nothing to do except look at stocks, and then why not just have a community help them research a bit better. And however, on the other hand, there is probably some people, maybe for the sake of raising capital so they can reinvest, then they start out this course. So I think in that sense, some people kind of subconsciously feel that, hey, you're just here to suck up my money, to make money out of teaching, right? And I think really it's important. I think for those who have a very clear reason why they're doing this, is much easier. That's why I think for our clients, they don't really have that kind of not really. I don't think so, right? So yeah, I think, but in that sense, I think when advertising is well, it's important to be very aware of what exactly are in people's minds and heads, and see how you can craft your marketing message, advertising message, to address all these, especially right when your marketing is just really, really efficient. So Robbie Sutherland from Ogilvy talks about this, right? To make your ads work or to make people want to buy, your ads is just going to be inefficient, right? I think last time I shared this analogy, then Sean was laughing at me. I didn't have the right analogy to explain. But my point is, if let's say your market is just so efficient, right? You just run ads and you'll buy, and run ads, you'll buy. Then people see that, oh, you're just here to make money out of me. Now, however, if let's say I spend some money in offline advertising, or I send, if you purchase, then I create a welcome box for you. It shows that what? It shows that I have skin in the game. I'm not just here for the short run. I'm here to invest in my business as well. I'm here to take care of my customers. And that, in a sense, is called inefficient advertising, which happens to work much better, weirdly, right? So, yeah, that's my thoughts. I think if you overly I think especially in Singapore, if you're just run ads, webinar close, you'll reach a point until your market is just damn jaded, or your target audience of people who see your ads is just damn jaded, unless you have some form of inefficient advertising methods. Does it make sense? Does it make sense? It does, right? So
Yeah,
I think that's
definitely.
yeah, and that's something we are also working. Yeah, I think that's also why UGC works, user generated content, or people showing unboxing videos, people showing that like when it's my birthday, then this culture send me birthday gift, all these different things. Absolutely crucial, especially when how you advertise is just webinar ads, a webinar landing page, register, and then buy. Yeah. So okay, let's answer this question. Last question, 9 p.m. Okay, let's answer the question. So how can we actually turn this hate into an advantage? I'll share my thoughts first, right? And then maybe Sean, you can share your thoughts. But anyway, for those of you who are watching, can you type 1 so I know you're watching? Type a 1 in the chat so I know you're watching. Are you enjoying this content? Type yes if you do. Type yes if you do. Okay. Cool. Okay, so one thing which I realized how we can turn this into an advantage is this concept called us versus. Luffy said this like webinar only. Okay, so back. I'm a person who's very easily distracted. I'm a very ticklish guy. But anyway, my answer to the last question, right, is how can we turn this always hate into advantage? It's very simply this concept called us versus enemy. And when you position with a good heart, when you position yourself as someone who is legit, someone who is on the good side, and you paint your enemy as let's say the shady coaches or the coaches who are just out there to make their money, suddenly you are on the same side as your prospects. And the enemy is basically the people who are just trying to scam your money, people who are just trying out there to make some quick buck and then leave. So I think this is one very simple concept, which I think any financial education coach can use to actually use this as an advantage with their marketing, right? Does this make sense to you, Sean?
Yeah, it does. I think the idea of the the common enemy, it's to unite people, has been constantly used around there. And I think it's really... Oh, okay, so I think that's definitely, I think that's one way we can do it. The identity of the common enemy is really out there. The other way that actually I would use the regarding hate is actually to dive deeper into the reasons why that hate exists in the first place, because very often the hate results from a certain experience, and if we are able to understand the experience and turn that into a marketing message, I believe that that could be a way that we can craft more effective ads, more effective lines of persuasion to approach our audience. Cause let's say people don't, I would like to believe that most people don't hate for no reason. Typically something has happened, or they see someone else do it and they get dragged up into this this herd mentality. But there's typically some event that happened, and then we choose to dig deep and we can direct the hate elsewhere. I think that is one way to see it. And I think it does align with the idea of the common enemy as well, that maybe we can say like things like we know that some of you may have lost money before, and it's not a fault because maybe the methods you learned weren't right. We understand that. We have personally been for these courses before, for example, and then what we have found is that this way is a much better way. And here is what we have done. Here are our success stories. Boom. That's how I would approach the whole topic.
Yeah, makes sense. And definitely, like when done right, I think with a very, very pure intention and with the right intentions, of course, when you do this properly, people can feel it. Because if you come on the wrong intention and you try to to force this message into your webinar or into your landing page, into your marketing, you just feel very off, right? People can tell. People at this market sophistication, people can tell. And I think that is how basically we can use this as an advantage. To all financial coaches listening to this, I hope there is. This definitely can help. I think this is a concept which we use for all our clients, and of course they do see some form of benefits after using this. Definitely some increase in conversions, whether it's your webinar or whether it's through your upsell process. Yeah. So anyway, so this, I think it's the end of this session. This is actually our first video. We're just starting chilling out, talking about this interesting topic. Yeah. So very in summary, basically what we talked about, I think this channel very simply was, why some people see financial education as a scam? How do we actually deal with it? Are they important? Should we actually take this into account? Because there's this school of thought that, if we have pure intention, then we don't have to do it. Or worse, not worse. Or if they are not in our target audience, should we actually care? Right? And then the other school of thought is, advertising should be something that draws attention, should be likable, especially with all the creative directors like George Lewis, who has this belief that it should make you tear, it should make you laugh, and as a result, you will buy. So I think there's a lot of school of thoughts regarding this. For those of you who are watching, if you have any comments, any thoughts on these topic which we are discussing for the past 1 hour or so, just drop them down. We'll probably address them. And yeah. All right. So anyway, if there is no questions, then I think it's the end of this session. And very simply, we actually do hold this every Wednesday. The reason why this is posted on a Friday night is simply because I think 2 days ago I had a mastermind, and it was
I was away for copywriting training as well.
Copywriting training by Eugene Schwartz, right?
No lah.
Okay, so that is all. And if you have any questions, or if you want to find out more about us, exactly what we do, want to contact us to see how we can help you. Our website is currently not ready, but of course, if you want to reach out to us, you can drop me a DM. You can click on my Facebook profile or Sean's Facebook profile. Drop us a DM, and we'd be glad to see how we can help you in any of the areas. All right, so that's all, and we'll see you very, very soon next week.
See y'all.